Have you ever felt frustrated, discouraged, angry, or maybe even frightened by your students' disruptive and challenging behavior? In this video, we will discuss 4 questions to ask yourself when dealing with challenging behavior that will help you develop a calm, problem-solving approach. Let's get started in today's pop-up practice. Hello, I'm Chris Davis, a member of the AEDY team at PaTTAN. Many times in the classroom, students display challenging behaviors that disrupt the learning environment and upset their teachers or peers. While it's completely natural to have negative thoughts or reactions to stressful situations such as these, how we as educators think about and subsequently react or respond to these behaviors can have an enormous impact on whether the behavior will continue or the student will learn new ways to act within the classroom. In this video, we will share 4 questions to help you view student behavior with what the folks at Nonviolent Crisis Intervention call rational detachment. These questions are aimed at moving us away from negative thoughts about student behavior and into a questioning and problem-solving frame of mind. You may be familiar with cognitive behavior theory and the idea that our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are interrelated and influence each other. By changing our thoughts, we can influence our feeling and behaviors. By changing our behaviors, we can not only model appropriate behavior, but also influence the behavior of our students and others in our school. The purpose of this video and these 4 questions is to leverage that relationship between thoughts, feelings, and behaviors to help you better assess and manage behavior in your classroom. These questions can be used in a variety of ways, such as in the moment in a classroom, as a reflective activity you do by yourself or with a colleague or supervisor, in both informal and formal team meetings discussing student behavior, such as IEP meetings or the formal periodic review in the AEDY setting. Many of these questions are also part of or related to more formal analysis of behavior, but they can be used in your daily teaching practice. So let's take a look at the 4 questions to help frame our thoughts around behavior. When thinking about student behavior, the first question we want to ask ourselves, which may seem obvious, is what is the behavior? This question causes us to pause, observe, think deeply about what the student is doing. We want to describe the behavior. What does it look and sound like? How often does it occur? Is this something that happens every day, multiple times within a single class period? Or maybe it's behavior that happens once a week, or only in certain classes or with a certain teacher or peer. We also want to think, how long does the behavior last? Is this something that happens over a few seconds, minutes, maybe the entire class period? You may not be able to answer these questions immediately. Observation and reflection could be needed to develop a full answer. The goal here is to define the behavior so we can separate the challenging behavior from other aspects of the student and the classroom environment. In this question, we want to remove thoughts of intent or motivation and we'll focus on creating a clear definition of the behavior. The next question we ask ourselves is, what is the student trying to communicate with this behavior? We know that all behavior has meaning and purpose, and it's important to know that behavior is a form of communication. Viewing behavior as communication can help us manage our natural reactions and responses to challenging behavior. When we view it as a means for communication, we can shift from questions of how or why could the student do that to what is the student trying to tell me? What do they need or want? For a variety of reasons, many students will use their behaviors to attempt to get their needs met. A common analogy to help us understand this is to picture student behavior like an iceberg. When you look at an iceberg, you see what is above the surface, the very tip of the iceberg, but the largest portion of that iceberg lies beneath the surface. In the same way, student behavior is the tip of the iceberg. We see it, we experience it, we often react to it. But beneath the surface of the behavior is what the student needs and wants, which is frequently unseen or unknown, but is what is driving the behavior. These things can include stress, worry, lacking social skills, overwhelm, and a host of other things. When we view student behavior for what it is, as a means of communication, then we can prepare ourselves for a conversation rather than a confrontation. Another question to consider is whether the behavior is developmentally appropriate for the student. We have to consider what stage of development the student is in. What's normal for this age? Sometimes in schools, what we view as challenging behavior can be part of natural adolescent development. Some common examples of developmentally appropriate behaviors for adolescents or teens includes questioning authority, needing to understand why, seeking independence, choosing peers over adults, becoming easily frustrated, or being irritable without obvious cause. In the classroom setting, many of these things can be disruptive. While it's not an excuse for disruptive behavior, Understanding the developmental levels of your students can help create opportunities that will support the student while also teaching how to grow and develop in more pro-social ways. For a deeper look at adolescent development, check these resources, which are highlighted here. The links are also in the description. The fourth question to ask when thinking about challenging behavior is, are there deficits that could be influencing the behavior? For example, the student may be missing or lagging behind in social skills. Ensuring the students know what is expected and acceptable through your MTSS or PBS matrix and behavior lessons, as well as that each student has the skills necessary to meet the expectations, is critical. When considering challenging behaviors, it can be helpful to observe through the lens of social skill development. Not all students bring an understanding of school expectations and rules. Schools must take steps to make sure each student knows what is expected of him or her and has the requisite understanding and skills. Additionally, academic deficits can impact student behavior. Multiple studies have been conducted in this area and found that academic deficits and challenging behaviors are closely related. Research suggests that the relationship can run both ways, meaning academic deficits can lead to challenging behaviors, just as challenging behaviors can lead to academic deficits. Additionally, one can make the other more pronounced. Many students will, whether consciously or unconsciously, attempt to mask deficits with disruptive or challenging behavior. In their mind, it's preferable to be viewed as a student who acts out or gets in trouble rather than a student who struggles with reading or who cannot complete the tasks assigned. That's why it's important to gather academic assessment data on students with challenging behaviors. The best way to know if a student's behavior is influenced by social skills or academic deficits is to assess and observe in these areas. Students can become very skilled at masking their areas of need, so it's important to consider this question when thinking about challenging behavior. That wraps up our 4 questions on challenging behavior. We hope that these questions help you develop a problem solving mindset when working with students with challenging behavior. Feel free to provide feedback on this video and others in our pop-up practices series as we aim to deliver strategies and practices that will help teachers better serve their students. Thanks again, and remember, practice makes progress.